going to hazard a guess that everyone in this room, just like me, likes to eat food and wants to keep on eating it. Am I right? Am I right? Yeah. So if that is the case, then listen up, because what I'm going to tell you is really important to our shared hobby. Many of you probably are aware that our food system is responsible for around a quarter of the world's greenhouse gases. It is a big, big source of what is warming our planet, the way we use our land to grow our food, to feed ourselves. And you often hear about carbon. We hear about CO2 warming the planet, and in agriculture we hear about methane, those darn cows and all of their burps. It is a real problem. But what you don't hear much about is the real hidden villain in our food system. And that is nitrogen, synthetic nitrogen fertilizer that our whole food system is addicted to. It's holding our food system hostage. We now need it to get the yields that we get to feed ourselves and feed the food that we eat, the livestock. And this is a villain because, first of all, the carbon footprint of its production. It's made from methane, fossil fuel. We're supposed to stop using those, right? But we combine it with electricity in the Haber-Bosch process to suck nitrogen out of the air and then put it in soluble form so that farmers can put it on the ground to grow our food. One of the problems with that, though, is around 50% of that nitrogen that's applied is lost to the air in the form of ammonia, which is an air pollutant causing major health problems, and nitrous oxide, otherwise known as laughing gas. But nitrous oxide is no laughing matter because it is 300 times more potent than CO2 as a greenhouse gas. It also gets lost through the waterways in the form of nitrate, which causes dead zones. It makes the aquatic life die because it sucks up all the oxygen. You may have heard of the dead zone in the Gulf of Mexico because the Mississippi River drains there, and all of the farmland in the Midwest in the US drains into the Mississippi. Nitrate is also a carcinogen, causes cancer, so we probably don't want to be drinking it. So it's a real problem. And it's also a problem for the farmer who's paid top pound to buy all of this nitrogen fertilizer, and the prices have only been going up because of the energy crisis. It's made from methane. Last year alone, it went up about 300%. So the farmers are crunched, and they're losing half of what they apply, which is causing havoc. And when I say causing havoc, this is the planetary boundaries, the safe levels of all of these different things. Nitrogen was the first planetary boundary that we exceeded, and the one that we've exceeded the most because of all of this nitrogen we're pulling out of the air in this expensive way and then losing it to the air and water. This is hardly a sustainable way to feed ourselves. It just can't keep going on. You can think of nitrogen as fast food for our food. Not only is it really polluting, but also the food that's grown this way ends up not being very nutritious. It doesn't have the same nutrients as if the plants got the nutrition naturally. And kind of like fast food as well, it's addictive. No joke. The more we use of nitrogen, the more we kill the natural fertility in the soil, and the more we need to use it, which is great for the chemical companies, not so great for the planet or the farmers. And that's because it disrupts what I call the black market beneath our feet. This is the microbial market in the soil, how plants normally got their fertility, used to before we had all this synthetic fertilizer. What happens is the plants suck down carbon dioxide through photosynthesis. It's what they do, they're plants. And they feed it to the microbes in the soil through their roots in the form of a sugar exudate. Those microbes in return go, oh, hey, thanks for the carbon. And they shoot out nitrogen, which the plant needs to grow. And it's this lovely reciprocal process. If you put the nitrogen from above, then the plant goes, don't need you guys anymore, keeping my carbon for myself. And the microbes wither and die, you get degraded soil and no fertility left. And that's what's happening. And this leads to a chemical cascade. Nitrogen is what I call a keystone chemical. It basically means that new problems arise when you use it. The plants become more vulnerable to pests, and you have to use other chemicals to solve those problems. And so you end up in an iscide chemical cascade, fungicide, insecticide, pesticide, herbicide, basic killing chemical cascade. So it's even more pollution. In summary, there's so much hanging in the balance of our food system's addiction to nitrogen fertilizer. But I didn't come here to depress you tonight, I promise. We're talking about hope. And so there is hope. There is a solution. It is to use regenerative farming practices, which is basically going back to the way our grandfathers and great-grandfathers farmed, but with modern technology. And what that means specifically is to harness the power of nature to put that fertility back into the soil where it belongs so that we can wean ourselves off of these chemicals. Doing things like not tilling the land to protect the soil structure and keeping the ground covered as well, and bringing back in livestock to arable systems to provide what I call natural nitrogen in the form of their droppings. These things can be done, but they take time, and with that time means a problem for the farmer. Because as they wean themselves off the nitrogen, their soil won't rebound right away, and so their yield can drop. If they experience a yield penalty, that means less revenue before they're able to rebound it. And so even though after a few years, their soil would rebound, their profits would go up, probably increase, they can't weather that drop. And so that stays their hand and stops them from thinking about transitioning to this way of farming. And that's where we come in. At Agreed Earth, we are using satellite remote-sensed data combined with ground truth data to help farmers wean themselves off of synthetic nitrogen and get rewarded in the process, because there are many people who benefit from that drawdown, like the water companies, which no longer have to filter out the nitrate from the water. It's very, very expensive to do that. They don't want to have to build more of these plants. So we can help the farmers reduce their use, put less load into the system, for far less than it takes them to build a new plant. So I want you to take away these three things from my talk tonight. The first is that nitrogen is holding our food system hostage. It's not good for us or the planet or the farmers, and it is addictive. The second is that regenerative agriculture can be a solution. You could kind of think of it as rehab for ag. So, but like rehab, it takes a while, and you can't go cold turkey. You often have to wean yourself off of it gradually. And for that reason, farmers need our support in this process. And there's many ways that we can support them. The way we at Agreed Earth are doing it is just one of them. There are many people who benefit from this drawdown, like the food companies, the supply chains that farmers are a part of. And so we all need to pull together to save our shared hobby, eating. So the field is wide open. There's so many opportunities in agriculture to help out, and I would like to invite all of you to come talk to me if you'd like to learn more. There's just so many ways, and so I really want to thank you for your time and leave you with that thought. Thank you very much.